What's up, nerds? My name is Jeremy Akers, Jeremy Nathaniel Akers, and I want to talk to you about my absolute favorite liberating structure of all time. This one, I swear to God, it's the most fun. You gotta believe me. Trust me. Improv prototyping. Little comedy, little drama. Tragedy. Comedy and tragedy. That's what I was thinking of. Anyway, leave me alone. Improv prototyping. What makes improv prototyping awesome? We already know that one of the principles of liberating structures is to invite creative destruction to make space for innovation. Now, creative destruction is scary. A lot of people get freaked out because paradox. They can't handle it. Innovation is also scary. Change. People have lots of opinions about change. Everybody loves change, but for whatever reason, we're also terrified of it at the same time. Stable equilibrium, comfortable. But innovation is change by definition. So how do we source innovation? How do we source wildly creative change that leads to transformation? Do we source innovation through explanation? Through asking and telling? Probably not so much, huh? That I think is when we think about change and we think about resistance to change, I think this is very much the vibe, right? Some jackhole asks you to do, quote, big air quotes on this one, big air quotes, asks you to do something, more likely tells you to do something. And this always triggers up a question mark around, who knows if that's a good thing? Who does actually know? I don't know if that's such a good thing. How else could we source innovation? We could, of course, source innovation through the scientific method, Stick with the horse that brung us. Observe, 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 and lean into I see, hear, and notice, especially. For sure, it can happen. You can make an observation and go, oh, hey, I didn't expect to see that. Find that reality is stranger than fiction, and that might lead you down the path of innovation. Totally. It can happen. It's harder to do. I like action in my inference. Once more, paradox. So how else could we do it? We could explore, my nerds. We could explore. Huge fork in the road here between explaining and getting into active exploration. The dopest thing about exploration is that it triggers this sensation of I was there. There is no skepticism that is possible when it was my experience and I was there. So this really sort of clues us in to the primary benefit of improv prototyping, and that is it's going to help us create experiences. Now, I have a confession to make. Improv prototyping was the second to last liberating structure I ever tried for the first time. I was scared of it. I thought there's moving parts. I thought it was a little boring. I thought it was a little weird. I did not get it. Don't be like me. This liberating structure is incredibly simple. So let's break it down. So improv prototyping is going to help us stick the landing whenever we're at this, well, what could we do? And especially if that what could we do is a significant departure from what and how we are doing things now. And you can really see that populating what could we do is about expanding the option space, right? Gives us more choices. And why we might want to pick improv prototyping to do this in particular is because it's going to help us lean into the seriously playful curiosity vibe. That is, again, one of the principles of liberating structures. So how's it going to do that? Well, first things first, we're really going to set the stage. And I don't mean figuratively. I mean actually literally. Like set a stage, create a place for performance and for play and for improvisational play. Take 5 minutes, explain to the whole group the scene that we are going to act out. Describe any roles that are taking place within that scene, and any steps and the steps of the overall structure, the process that it was. Don't take too long with this shit. Get it over with. And what's important to remember if you have never done improv theater is to lean into the vibe of yes and. As you're making shit up, say yes to it and find a way to double down on that yes. Say yes to the offers and solutions that are put in and make it even more spicy. Just lean into yes and. This is the vibe. So after we've said, okay, we're going to do this improv prototyping thing, this is our scene. We are in a hospital and we are fighting against, fucking super bacteria and, pandemics and, all that sketchy shit. And you are a nurse and you are a patient or you are a person else. And there's a kerfuffle. There's a thing that happens all the time. We need some new solutions to it. What in God's name could we do? After you've explained that, some volunteers are going to play. They're going to get up on whatever stage you can create, whether that's at the front of the room or surrounded by your colleagues with them on all sides. They are going to enact the scene and show what they think is a smart response to the scene, to the situation in their roles. They are going to improvisationally prototype responses. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to do that on a stage or in a bit of a fishbowl type scenario. Doesn't have to take too long, This shit needs to be popping. You want to move through it quick. So in 3 to 5 minutes, you've explained the scene, you have seen a scene, and then the real fun starts, the iteration. How do we iterate? Well, first and foremost, those people that are around the fishbowl, those observers, are going to debrief. And what you want to do is look for the chunks of the performance that really were like, oh yes, double plus, kicked ass, and not so much. That felt a little sketchy, didn't feel like the vibe, right? Don't take a shit ton of time. Again, just 5 minutes. Do your sort of standard 1, 2, 4 all thing. Really speed run it. It's fine. Everybody will go home happy. Very, very upbeat vibes. And then you want to allow these observers to sort of split into groups and that they prototype some new scenes. So, some volunteers within these small groups, say 5 plus or minus 2, in just a few minutes, we describe, hey, these were our chunks, right? And so how do we combine these chunks to make something a little bit better? A couple volunteers within the group enacts the scene the way you've sort of played out and described. You've written it. And after that, the groups that, as we come back into the all space in this sort of fishbowl format, groups that think that they have improved prototypes volunteer to come onto the stage and perform in front of the whole context. So again, 3 to 5 minutes. You get to see a new iteration. And then what do? We fucking iterate. We go back up and we debrief. We look at the chunks. Maybe some new chunks were offered. Maybe it was just the old chunks, but look at the chunks, recombine them for your own prototype. And if you think you've got the dope-ass prototype, perform it in front of the fishbowl and then rotate. Each one of these increments or these iterations will take about 20 minutes a pop. And you will find that after running through this a whole bunch of times, you will have done some pretty cool shit that actually seemed pretty hard and scary. Number one, you will have discovered some new responses to what might have been the same old everyday challenge. Not only will you have discovered new responses, but you will have discovered the sort of atomic units or chunks of those responses. You will have broken it down to relatively small steps and small interventions that themselves are valuable. And maybe you have found yourself a whole new groove. Maybe you've had some fun. Maybe there were some laughs. Maybe there were some yucks. Maybe there were some real moments of total cringe in front of a group of your peers that brings you somehow closer together. This is improv prototyping. It is a way to engage in seriously playful curiosity, expand your options, and to make space for some innovation, especially in the same old shit. My name's Jeremy Akers, Jeremy Nathaniel Akers. Thanks for your time, attention, and energy. And have some fun, goddammit. Jesus Christ. Being so fucking serious all the time. Man, fuck me.